Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic. What is something that you could practice for 1 hour max every day, for an entire year, and by the end of the year you'd be an expert in? Writing with your non-dominant hand. Comes in handy for when you lose the other hand. Also comes in handy when you have to complete 2 homeworks at once while the teacher's collecting it. I don't know about that. I've spent a lifetime training my dominant hand, and I still can't write legibly. Maybe you should spend an hour a day working on your penmanship with your dominant hand for a year. I did that for like a month and my writing has been permanently better. A lot of people in here seriously underestimating what an expert is. Yeah, I'm just a loser who plays games, but in most online games 365 hours is rookie numbers. 365 hours in Rocket League is like gold or plat for most people. Not trying to gatekeep BTW, I only have more than that in like 2 games. 3 Kelvin hours in XCO, my peak was milligrams too. Pickpocketing or lockpicking. A new career option. You've just unlocked a new branch in the skill tree. Procrastination. All these upvotees. I'm guessing they will all respond later. I'm going to upvote that comment later. You wouldn't be an expert, but you'd be significantly better at drawing. Came here to say this. I teach drawing and most of my students improve vastly over the course of a year, just from spending a few hours per week in class. Those who consistently practice outside of class, even just doodling every day, improve even more. I don't think it's something that anyone ever really masters. I've been drawing seriously for about 25 years and I'm still improving. Edited to add, wow, so my inbox blew up. For the many who have asked, here are some links to a website full of drawing tutorials, which I often recommend. https://thevirtualinstructor.com/epoidperspective.html https://thevirtualinstructor.com/depoidperspective.html https://thevirtualinstructor.com. Their gesture drawing tutorial for the human figure is also spot on. https://thevirtualinstructor.com/gesturedrawing.html. The same website has a ton of other drawing tutorials that are broken down into step-by-step instructions for beginning artists. I'm like the absolute worst at drawing. Is there any tips you could give for someone like me that wants to learn? Juggling. Yeah. It took me a weekend to be able to juggle 3 balls above 20 throws. I was juggling balls well the first try. Some things just come naturally to people in truck stop bathrooms. Exercise. Edit, thanks for the silvers. So many people try it for 2 days and are like, I'm not getting skinny so it's not working. It only took years to get out of shape but I've spent days trying to get back in. Wii Sports Golf. You would be a god. Bold of you to assume I don't already have 365 plus hours in Wii Golf. Training your dog. Maybe no expert, but you'd certainly have a good boy. Does this work with Bez? Asking for a friend. Does it? Asking for myself. Manipulating your eyebrows. My daughter can do this, it's weird but funny. Adding this to my New Year's resolution. Probably like playing 4 chords on a guitar. You'd probably be an expert at that in 365 hours of practice. But how long before I can play Wonderwall? Today is gonna be the day. Honestly, any instrument. You wouldn't be an expert, but an hour of consistent practice every day would build up the areas of the body needed: diaphragm, callus for guitar players, bottom lip callus for sax players, etc., and would get you a solid understanding of your instrument. 365 hours of purposeful practice will get you easily to the point of being able to whip out your instrument and impress friends and family. My friends and family are never impressed when I whip out my instrument. Just started playing the guitar. That's hella motivating. Typing. Professional typists are roughly 70 to 80 WPM, easily accomplished through daily practice. Edit, you guys are literally figuratively, smartasses, blowing up my phone with the responses so I will copy plus paste an explanation and source. An average professional typist types usually in speeds of 50 to 80 WPM, while some positions can require 80 to 95, usually the minimum required for dispatch positions and other time-sensitive typing jobs, and some advanced typists work at speeds above 120 WPM. Two-finger typists, sometimes also referred to as hunt and peck typists, commonly reach sustained speeds of about 37 wpm for memoized text and 27 wpm when copying text, but in bursts may be able to reach much higher speeds. Source per the Wikipedia article on words per minute, as, Robert U. Martinez, Catali, 2005, 120 wpm for very skilled typist, on the reappraisal of microeconomics, economic growth and change in a material world, Cheltenham, UK and Northampton, Massachusetts, Edward Elgar Publishing, p. 41, ISBN 978-1-8454-2-272-1, retrieved November 22, 2010. I get it. You guys all play a lot of video games, but I seriously don't need to know the typing speed for half of Reddit today. I love you guys, you are all amazing typists and human beings. Edit 2, want to know how to get a typist job? Start here. I've been learning stenography for a few months, which can get you up over 200 wpm with perseverance. If after a year I can match my QWERTY touch typing speed of 75 wpm, I'll be stoked. 100 is the goal, but it's damn difficult. 5 months in and I'm hovering around 30 to 40. My grandmother used to be a court stenographer. They didn't accept anyone who couldn't write down 150 wpm. Being a superhero, all you need to do is 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, 10-kilometer running. And that's just if you want to be a hero for a hobby. And a banana, that's the most important part. No, you're thinking of never turning on the heat or air conditioner. Backflip. I would die on practice day 1. Rubiks Cube. From someone who has a friend who does that about an hour a day, he can now solve the 21-sided monstrosity he bought for like $50. Anything over 5x5 uses the same solving patterns. Definitely takes longer to do a 21x21, but you don't need new skills. Edit, misread 21x21, not 21 sides, but some good comments below. Soldering. If you had new components and new techniques to practice every day, and you actually soldered for an hour every day, you'd be a fucking wizard by the end of a year. You'd also be hugely in debt to just pay for all the tools and parts, but hey, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Edit, this was written in the context of the question, but you can learn the basics in an hour, you can get moderately proficient in a few sessions. You don't have to be a fucking wizard to get lots of useful shit done, as many below have shared. /r/soldering, /r/electronics, /r/ask electronics are all great places to start. Basic soldering requires only a few tools that can be had for cheap, and basically everyone can do it. I've taught many people to solder in a few minutes, and you can learn too. Edit 2, /u/nerd104. I wrote a nice little primer below. Edit 3, I am seriously gonna edit this to give a huge shout out to the Hacko FX-888, because it's still my go-to for actually getting shit done. Such a wonderful little soldering station. Pricey if you're just getting started, but if you're in it for the long haul, totally worth the money. There is a few hands-on skills I'd love to learn, but the investment in equipment and space is just too high. Okay, so here's what I'll say to this. To solder, you need a good solder station, solder, and solder wick to get going. That'll probably be $50 to $60. The station should have an iron W/an adjustable temperature knob, a sponge for cleaning, and a holder for the iron. A helping hand can be really helpful too. Look for one that has a magnifying glass and at least 2 clips. Space, just grab a small clean space on a countertop, and put a mat you don't mind getting dirty down. Cheap components can be purchased from Digi-Key or electronics surplus stores. For example, if you're in LA, check out All Electronics. But Digi-Key really is super cheap. When you're starting, don't get loose components, though get a little kit. Some of the ones I got were $10 and were things like an electronic cricket or a blinking LED thingamajig or a little mini solar robot. Solder them together to learn how. Then move on to loose through-hole components for your own circuits. For learning about circuit design, Forest MIMS 3 is great, along with some Radio Shack books like Basic Electronics and Makes Electronics book. Use Lieutenant Spice to help test your circuit. There's an online one too, I think it's 123 circuit or something like that. That has a smaller learning curve than Lieutenant Spice. In summary, you can learn the basics for $60 in equipment and $30 in components if you play your cards right. After that it's kind of where you take it. Obviously it can get expensive, that's true of all hobbies. But you'll be reasonably capable. Edit, I figured all of one person would read this, so let me add a few other things that are general tips and comments. If you end up really getting into this, definitely check out the Arduino and Raspberry Pi, along with things like PCBWay, which allow you to print custom designed boards for personal projects for like $5 if you order 10 or so boards. For designing boards, Altium is kinda the classic, but it's expensive. Check and see if there's online alternatives. Basic soldering is, I swear, not all that hard. It's also kind of relaxing. General notes about it: make an effort not to breathe in the solder smoke, and feel free to blow the smoke away a little. Angle your iron on the opposite side of the lead from your solder, and make sure you have a lot of the tip touching the pad the lead is through. A good through-hole solder joint will look like a Hershey's Kiss or teardrop. Clip the extra lead off with some snips. Never touch the hot part. I mean, duh, but like it's really hot. Definitely not speaking from experience here. Cough. Cough. Anyway, solder wick is crazy helpful when you make mistakes. It looks like flat copper strips in a reel, which is basically what it is. Lay a clean section over whatever solder you want to pick up, and press down onto it with the iron. It'll soak up the extra solder. You can snip off the used section with your, well, snips. Wet the sponge in your station before a soldering session, and clean the tip between joints and at the end of your session. Just good practice. Clean it by wiping, not pressing down super hard, that's how you burn the sponge. Edit, these should be quick wipes. Another commenter pointed out that this can damage the tip over time. Another option is steel wool, but I've personally not had problems with this and find the sponge easier. Both options are pretty valid, but be aware you may need to replace the tip eventually. If you're having trouble soldering / getting a clean joint, there's a good chance the iron isn't hot enough, especially if the solder isn't cohering. Not quite what I mean, but best word I can think of for it. Edit, adhering is the word I was looking for. A lot of solder now is lead-free, which is smart, but leaded solder is much easier to use. IMO. Wash your hands after soldering. I've seen people solder and then eat with no hand washing. That's nasty. When done soldering, if there's flux on the board, take a Q-tip, dip it in some rubbing alcohol. In the US, this is reasonably interchangeable with isopropyl alcohol. You can find it in bottles at drugstores, and wipe it off a little. If a board isn't working, grab your good friend the multimeter and debug. Learn to read schematics, this will assist you, and the common symbols you can pick up pretty quickly. Most of them even make sense if you think about it a little. Edit 2, thanks for the silver and gold. Not gonna lie, this is starting to get a little surreal. Didn't know so many people were interested in my admittedly limited soldering knowledge. More information. This is a pretty classic little comic. I flipped through it when I first started to solder, that teaches you how to solder. It's very nice. SparkFu is another good, but more expensive, and more user-friendly, place to get electronics. If you're prototyping a board, try a breadboard, no soldering required. If you're in California, go to a Fry's Electronics pronto. If you are near a Radio Shack, God bless you, I'm jealous, they're great. Don't really expect the store employees at electronics stores to be helpful. They're just not going to be, not even at all electronics. Sadly. Good places to look are online forums. There's a subreddit for electrical engineering, and a Stack Exchange site for electrical engineering. YouTube is great, check out Benita and Welsh Labs. Again, though, Forest Mims 3 and that electronics book by I think Charles Pratt, or something like that, are fantastic places to start.